a slightly altered reality where occasionally you're walking downtown, maybe headed back to the office after lunch. You round the corner of a building and, oh my God, a cheetah! I'm screwed. I don't even have my running shoes. Run for your life. Trip up your buddy, run for your life. Sorry, Albert, he's only hungry enough to eat you. And I think the reason I'm so fascinated by the story is that I have really bad vision. I have to wear glasses or contacts, or both. These are the contacts. My eyes are bad. You should see the glasses. And one day I realized if I had been born a couple thousand years ago, I would have been weeded out really early. Because I wouldn't even recognize a predator until it was dangerously close. I'd be going, what is that? Is that a saber-toothed tiger? Yeah, I think that's why short guys with bad vision often develop a sense of humor. It's a survival mechanism. If I can keep a couple people entertained, maybe they'll let me know I'm about to walk off a cliff. This way, funny guy, that's how we lost the last one. And I know we didn't coexist with saber-toothed tigers, by the way. Did anyone want to call me on that one? That's being a science comedian. I have to worry about some of the things that most comedians do not have to worry about. I not only have to be funny, but I have to be scientifically and mathematically accurate. Sometimes I have to be literal. I was telling a story about the heat in Arizona once, and I mentioned it was 125 degrees, and I said, that just sounds like science fiction. That just sounds like you're talking about the surface of Venus, right? And in the back of the room, someone said, no. Venus is much hotter than that. So, I had to say, I know that. I was using a comedic device called exaggeration. I should be allowed that. I had an interesting experience once, too. I was driving across Texas, and I stopped at a rest area. And, there are many experiences I could have had, This one was far away from any school boards. I was on the road, I stopped at a rest area, and when I came back to my car, there was a bird eating bugs off the grill of my car. And it was very interesting. It was obvious he had scoped it out. It was really interesting, like this bird had found his niche. He's figured out that he doesn't need to waste his time and energy hunting down bugs when a fresh shipment is coming in every few minutes. A nice selection, still warm on the grill. It's a little bird buffet. All you can eat. We deliver. He probably thought he had a symbiotic relationship with my car. I get fed, you get groomed, everyone's a winner. What, have there been too many jokes about symbiosis already? I hate when that happens. So, one thing that I hope is going to happen as we move forward with a new administration, a new president, that seems to care about a lot of things, actually. Other humans that aren't in his same class. And he seems to care about science, and hopefully he'll listen to science advisors. I'm a little concerned that we're trashing the planet, and we don't have space travel. Does that seem backwards to anyone? Like, first perfect interstellar flight, then soil the home planet? Wouldn't that make better sense? And I don't mean to preach, brothers and sisters, but we have treated the Earth like the Who treated a hotel room. And we haven't even stopped with the Earth. If you think about it, what little bit we've gotten out into space, everywhere we've gone, we've left stuff everywhere, like a high-tech trail of breadcrumbs. We've got a bunch of stuff on the moon. We've got stuff roaming around Mars. We've dropped stuff on Venus, on moons of Saturn. There are a couple things that we just flung out into the galaxy with no destination in mind. I just know somewhere out there, there's an extraterrestrial looking on with that one tear. You know the spacecraft I'm talking about, the Voyager and Pioneer craft? Remember they carried these plaques that were messages in case these spacecraft are ever found. My favorite, it's the Pioneer 10 image, and it's a very famous image. It's a naked man and woman, and they're not holding hands. You know, they wanted them, they were going to have them hold hands, but this is true. They realized that from an alien perspective, if they had them holding hands, it might look like one creature instead of two. So they actually had them like almost holding hands, kind of like, you know, co-workers at a work function that would, under the table, kind of like to hold hands, but better not because they don't want to get in trouble. So there was a naked man and woman, there was a representation of the solar system, and then there was a line showing the path of the spacecraft leaving the third planet. I think everyone here knows that. And did anyone else ever look at that and think, wow, that just looks like a menu with directions to the restaurant? I mean, I don't know if anything is ever going to find it, like a message in a bottle in the vastness of space. But what if it is found? And what if they're not friendly? What if they're hungry? We look fleshy and delicious. We don't have an exoskeleton. We don't have claws. We look easier to eat than a pistachio or a crab. You know, they could have taken a little artistic license, made us look a little more fearsome, or even just a little more well-endowed so we could hold our heads up in galactic locker rooms. Would that have been asking too much? So if you're like me too, you must hate when there's bad science in a science fiction film. Does that drive you nuts? Yeah. You know, have you ever seen a movie for free and still felt like you got ripped off? It did cost you 2 hours of life, and you don't get that back. But I saw the movie Twister some time ago, and, you know, it had nice special effects. But the movie actually didn't even make sense. The whole movie was about this team of scientists. They're studying tornadoes, and they had a device they called Dorothy that they were trying to launch into a tornado. And Dorothy was composed of like 100 individual sensors. And, oh, I might need a little more room than that, maybe not. So, Dorothy consists of like 100 individual sensors. The idea was if they could launch this into a tornado, they'll be able to map the dynamics of the tornado and better understand how they work. But in the whole movie, Dorothy was the only thing not sucked up into a tornado. Really, the only thing. Tornadoes were ripping up the Oklahoma landscape. An 18-wheeler took flight. A cow flies by twice. A little girl's dad is sucked out of a storm cellar, but these little balls spill out onto the highway. And there they remain. There's no breeze, not even a breeze. In one scene, they had a little product placement. They had the scientists cut out little Pepsi cans and attach them to each ball like wings. Because they were going, how can we make these things more aerodynamic? Well, as aerodynamic as what? A cow, for instance? I don't know if you can compete with that. The cow is designed for flight. Something about the hooves or the bell. In one scene, the scientists themselves were being sucked up. They were strapping themselves down because they're being sucked up into the sky. How frustrating to look down and see those little balls rocking back. The other classic one to me that's always stood out, and I know some of you will know exactly what I'm talking about as soon as I start, it's in Star Wars. It's in the original Star Wars 4. And it's in the classic scene where Obi-Wan and Luke need a ship to go on their little adventure. So they end up in this cantina, and they meet Han Solo. And Han Solo is bragging when he says, "You haven't heard of the Millennium Falcon? It's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs." It sounds impressive, but as a lot of you know, a parsec, it's not a unit of time. It sounds like it has SEC in it, but it's actually a unit of distance. So that makes no sense. And a lot of people are going to go, get over it, it's just a movie. But you know what? No, he could have made up a word. It happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. He could have just made up a word, but he misused a word. And it jumps out at you when you know it. To me, that was no different than if you were supposed to meet someone somewhere and you showed up late and you go, "I'm sorry, have you been waiting long?" And you go, "Yeah, about 15 yards. I'm sitting here counting the inches." I don't know, maybe I'm just getting to be a crotchety old man. Do you ever feel like that? Like, yeah, exactly. But I'm trying, you know, I'm trying to stay young. I hope I age gracefully. That's my only thing. It's like, I accept reality, and I just want to age gracefully. I already have gray hair. I don't care. Let it go all gray. Let it go blue. I don't care if it goes ultraviolet, in fact.